Patrice Lumumba was a Congolese politician and the first democratically elected Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC. He played a significant role in the country's struggle for independence from Belgian colonial rule in the late 1950s. Unfortunately, Lumumba's leadership was short-lived, and he met a tragic fate. After the DRC gained independence on June 30, 1960, Lumumba assumed office as Prime Minister. However, his tenure was marked by political instability and conflicts between different factions within the newly independent nation. These conflicts were exacerbated by external influences, including the involvement of Western powers seeking to maintain their economic and political interests in the region. One of the major challenges Lumumba faced was a secessionist movement in the mineral-rich province of Katanga, led by Moise Tshombe. Lumumba sought the support of the United Nations and the Soviet Union to counter the rebellion, which led to increased suspicion and opposition from Western nations, particularly the United States and Belgium. In September 1960, the Congolese military commander, Colonel Joseph Mobutu, later known as Mobutu Sese Seko, staged a coup against Lumumba's government, claiming that the country was on the verge of a communist takeover. Lumumba was arrested by Mobutu's forces on September 1, 1960, and later handed over to Katangan authorities led by Tshombe. Lumumba's captors subjected him to mistreatment and humiliation during his detention in Katanga. Meanwhile, the United States and Belgium, along with other Western powers, were accused of being involved in the planning and execution of Lumumba's capture and subsequent events. On January 17, 1961, Lumumba, along with two of his associates, Maurice Mpolo and Joseph Okito, was transferred to a remote location in the northern region of Katanga. Reports suggest that Belgian officers were present during the transfer. Lumumba and his colleagues were brutally executed on January 17 or 18, 1961, although the exact details of their deaths remain contentious. After Lumumba's murder, his body was reportedly dismembered, and his remains were dissolved in acid to conceal evidence of the crime. This event led to international outrage and condemnation, with Lumumba becoming a symbol of anti-colonialism and resistance against Western interference in African affairs. In 1961, while Patrice Lumumba was detained in Thisville prison, he wrote this heartfelt letter to his wife, which will highlight the bravery of the man and his love for his family and his people. If you are enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
My dear wife, I am writing these words to you, not knowing whether they will ever reach you, or whether I shall be alive when you read them. Throughout my struggle for the independence of our country, I have never doubted the victory of our sacred cause, to which I and my comrades have dedicated all our lives. But the only thing which we wanted for our country is the right to a worthy life, to dignity without prejudice, to independence without restrictions. This was never the desire of the Belgian colonialists and their Western allies, who received, direct or indirect, open or concealed, support from some highly placed officials of the United Nations, the body upon which we placed all our hope when we appealed to it for help. They seduced some of our compatriots, bought others, and did everything to distort the truth and smear our independence. What I can say is this: alive or dead, free or in jail, it is not a question of me personally. The main thing is the Congo, our unhappy people, whose independence is being trampled upon. That is why they have shut us away in prison and why they keep us far away from the people. But my faith remains indestructible. I know and feel deep in my heart that sooner or later my people will rid themselves of their internal and external enemies, that they will rise up as one in order to say no to colonialism, to brazen, dying colonialism, in order to win their dignity in a clean land. We are not alone. Africa, Asia, the free peoples and the peoples fighting for their freedom in all corners of the world will always be side by side with the millions of Congolese who will not give up the struggle while there is even one colonialist or colonialist mercenary in our country. To my sons, whom I am leaving and whom perhaps I shall not see again, I want to say that the future of the Congo is splendid and that I expect from them, as from every Congolese, the fulfillment of the sacred task of restoring our independence and our sovereignty. Without dignity there is no freedom, without justice there is no dignity, and without independence there are no free men. Cruelty, insults, and torture can never force me to ask for mercy, because I prefer to die with head high, with indestructible faith and profound belief in the destiny of our country than to live in humility and renounce the principles which are sacred to me. The day will come when history will speak. But it will not be the history which will be taught in Brussels, Paris, Washington or the United Nations. It will be the history which will be taught in the countries which have won freedom from colonialism and its puppets. Africa will write its own history, and in both North and South it will be a history of glory and dignity. Do not weep for me. I know that my tormented country will be able to defend its freedom and its independence. Long live the Congo. Long live Mother Africa. Blissful prison, Patrice Lumumba.
A new chapter begins in the dark and tragic history of the Congo with the return to Leopoldville of deposed Premier Lumumba, following his capture by crack commandos of strongman Colonel Mobutu. Taken to Mobutu's headquarters past a jeering, threatening crowd, Lumumba was impassive at this lowest ebb of his stormy career. Mobutu watched as his troops manhandled Lumumba, but promised the pro-red Lumumba a fair trial on charges of inciting the army to rebellion. Lumumba was removed to an army prison outside the capital, as his supporters in Stanleyville seized control of Oriental province and threatened the return of disorder. Before that, Lumumba suffered more indignities, including being forced to eat a speech, which he restated his claim to be the Congo's rightful premier. Even in bonds, Lumumba remains a dangerous prisoner, storm center of savage loyalties and equally savage opposition.